To new beginnings, he said, lifting his glass. I should have known those words weren't meant for us. Not for the life we'd built together. Not for the 21 years of marriage, the 2 kids, the late-night hospital runs, the mortgage we paid off last winter. They were for her. The girl in red. The one seated just across the room, half his age, pretending she wasn't watching us. My name is Elena Graves, and I had just been publicly replaced by the man who once promised me forever, with a woman who hadn't even been born when we first met. It was my 47th birthday. We were at the Hillcrest Garden rooftop, not exactly the place my husband, Daniel, would normally choose for my birthday. A bit flashy. A bit loud. But I chalked it up to him trying something different. Except he wasn't trying for me. His eyes never once softened toward me that night. They hovered across the room until she arrived. Her name? Marla. She was young, stunning, and carried herself like she had just discovered her own power, and Daniel had handed her a crown. When he stood for a toast, I expected something mild and sweet, maybe even half-hearted. Instead, he smiled wide, raised his glass, and said, "To new beginnings." Sometimes life gives you a second chance to find happiness. There was silence. A few confused claps. And then my son, Ethan, who had just turned 19, stood up and said, "What the hell, Dad?" That's when Daniel cleared his throat and dropped the bomb. Elena and I have decided to part ways. It's been coming for a while. We've grown apart, and I've met someone. I felt the air vanish from the room. No warning. No private talk. No decency. Just I've met someone in front of our children, friends, colleagues, everyone. But I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Instead, I smiled and raised my own glass. To clarity. That night, I walked out of that party a different woman. Not broken. Not defeated. Just unfinished. Daniel thought he had ended our story. But really, he had just given me the plot for my next chapter. Over the next few weeks, papers were served. Daniel moved out, or rather, he moved in with Marla. I didn't fight the divorce. I signed the agreement calmly, without emotion. No begging. No threats. Just patience. Because what Daniel didn't know was that I was already planning a future where he wouldn't exist, but she would. Years ago, I had co-founded a boutique creative agency with a close friend, Rachel. I was the silent partner. While raising our kids, I let Rachel run the day-to-day. But I still held majority shares. After the divorce, I reached out to her. I'm ready to come back. Full-time. She was shocked, thrilled even. About time, she said. Within a month, I was back in the boardroom, now as managing director. And guess who came in for a job interview 2 months later? Marla. Apparently, after the Instagram glow-up and spa trips, she realized Daniel's charm didn't pay the bills. He'd left his corporate job and was finding himself. Again. Marla needed a job. And she applied at my firm, unaware of who owned it. When her resume crossed my desk, I nearly laughed. I didn't stop the interview. I didn't block it. I let it happen. I watched her walk into the glass-walled conference room in heels too high and confidence too loud. And when she saw me, seated at the head of the table, her face went pale. I stood, extended my hand. "Welcome, Marla. Let's talk about your future." Marla sat across from me, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. She was no longer the radiant girl from the rooftop party in her red dress. Today, she wore a beige blouse and a pencil skirt, trying to look corporate. She looked nervous, unsure, young. "Thank you for seeing me," she said, her voice small. I nodded once, sliding her resume back across the table. "You're applying for the marketing assistant role?" "Yes. I studied media in college. Then did some freelance content creation." "Any agency experience?" "No. But I'm a fast learner." She forced a smile, hoping charm would win me over. The same charm that once seduced my husband. But charm had a short shelf life here. "You do realize who I am, don't you?" "Of course," she whispered. "I didn't know until I walked in. I wouldn't have applied if." I cut her off. "You're qualified enough for the role. And this is a workplace. We don't hold personal matters against potential hires, assuming professionalism is maintained." She blinked. I leaned forward, softening my tone just enough to confuse her. "I believe in second chances, Marla. Don't you?" Marla started work. She was quiet. On time. Eager. Too eager. She offered to get coffee for everyone. Stayed late. Over-apologized for small mistakes. The staff pitied her. But I didn't. Because behind every fake smile and "thank you, Ms. Graves," was the lingering memory of her wrapping her arm around my husband on my birthday. It came on a Tuesday afternoon. "Why the hell would you hire her?" he demanded. I sipped my tea. She applied. "I didn't seek her out. This is some twisted power play, Elena. She needed a job. I offered one. Is that a crime now?" He was silent for a beat. "You're messing with her head." Am I? Or is the real world just finally catching up? At work, I gave Marla just enough rope. Her tasks were challenging but fair. Her deadlines were tight but achievable. And her mistakes? Well documented. Everything she did was under quiet review. But I wasn't sabotaging her. No. I was studying her. How she panicked when she was cornered. How she tried to flirt with one of our junior managers. How she Googled my net worth during her lunch break. She thought I didn't notice. I noticed everything. Wineglass dinner with Daniel, an offer. He called again. This time, apologetic. "Can we meet for dinner? Just to talk." I agreed. Out of curiosity. We met at a quiet Italian place he used to take me to before the kids. He looked tired. Older than I remembered. Even the gray in his hair wasn't flattering anymore. just faded. "You're really doing this, huh?" he said. "Doing what?" "Treating her like a pawn." I put down my fork. "No, Daniel. I'm treating her like an employee. The same way you once treated me like a doormat." His jaw tightened. "She's not cut out for that place. You know that. Maybe she should have thought of that before stealing someone's husband." I left, Elena. "It was mutual." "No, Daniel. It was selfish. And sloppy." I took a slow sip of wine. "She's overwhelmed," he said, suddenly more desperate. "Then maybe she should quit." Friday morning, Marla showed up late. Her mascara was smudged. She looked like she'd been crying. I didn't ask. That afternoon, I caught her in the break room, crying. "Are you okay?" I asked. She looked up, startled. Then broke down completely. "I'm trying so hard. But everyone here is so capable. I feel stupid all the time. And Daniel, he's not who I thought he was." There it was. "Go on," I said, voice soft. "He doesn't support me. He barely even sees me. I'm just decoration. I think he thought I'd make him feel younger." "And do you?" "I don't know. Not anymore." I handed her a tissue. "You're discovering the truth. That being someone's fantasy is easy. Being someone's equal? That takes work." She stared at me. "Why didn't you warn me? Would you have listened?" Silence. "No," she whispered. 2 weeks later, our creative lead left for another firm. Marla applied for the role, a major jump. She was unqualified. Everyone knew it. But I let her interview anyway. In front of the whole board. She stumbled through every question. It wasn't humiliation. It was a mirror. "Thank you for your time," I said after the meeting. She avoided my gaze for the next 3 days. One evening, I received a message from Daniel. "She's talking about quitting. You broke her." I replied simply, "No. I gave her a chance." Life broke your illusion. Marla handed in her resignation on a Monday. Neatly typed. Short. Polite. She knocked on my door after. "I just wanted to say, I admire you. Even though I hated you at first. I see it now. Everything you were holding together. I thought I was taking your place, but you never could," I finished. She nodded, eyes full of something that might have been regret. "Goodbye, Ms. Graves." "Goodbye, Marla." That night, I poured myself a glass of wine. Not to celebrate, but to acknowledge that sometimes the best revenge is letting the world correct itself. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to destroy her. I just had to let her see the truth. And truth is heavier than revenge ever could be. White heavy check mark. 3 months had passed since Marla walked out of my office with trembling hands and a broken illusion. The office had returned to its rhythm. No more awkward glances. No more whispers in the break room. Peace had returned, but I wasn't done. Because peace, to me, wasn't just about quiet. It was about closure. And Daniel had not earned his. After Marla left him, yes, she left, he spiraled. At first, he tried to pretend he was fine. He posted Instagram stories of gym sessions, boat rides with acquaintances, and single life freedom. But the illusion faded fast. Without me, his business acumen crumbled. Turns out, I was the one managing the silent gears of our life, the bills, taxes, investments, and retirement strategies. He started calling more often. "Can we talk, Elena?" "About what, Daniel?" "Us." I think I made a mistake. I didn't respond. Not with words, anyway. What Daniel never realized, or conveniently forgot, was that years ago, when he needed seed capital for his side business, he used my family trust as partial collateral. At the time, I signed the papers out of love. But I kept the copies out of caution. Now that the business was sinking and he missed 2 payments, my trust's legal clause kicked in. I became a 49% owner of his company. When his lawyer called, I played innocent. I had no idea he defaulted. But I'll do what I can to protect the employees. Daniel didn't show up to work the Monday after the news broke. Instead, he emailed a dramatic resignation, citing personal matters and health. The media didn't care. The board didn't care. I showed up at the company's annual review in his place. "We'll ensure stability," I said to the investors. "We'll lead with integrity." They applauded. Because I was always the professional. The loyal one. The invisible strength. Now, I was the storm. It was rainy the night Daniel came to see me. He stood at my door, soaked, hair plastered to his forehead. "I'm sorry," he said before I could speak. "You didn't deserve any of it." No, I didn't. I was stupid. I was chasing something that wasn't real. I wanted to feel young again. At the cost of everything real you already had. He nodded, ashamed. "I lost everything, Elena. My business. My dignity. Her." I looked at him for a long moment. "You didn't lose them, Daniel. You traded them." He stepped forward slightly. "Do you think we could ever?" "No." He froze. "I don't hate you," I continued. "But I've grown beyond you. I gave you everything. Time. Love. Loyalty. And when I had nothing left to give, you took more. Elena. I'm building something new. Something for women who've been left behind by men chasing ego over empathy. There's no room for you in that." His face crumpled. "Goodbye, Daniel." I closed the door gently. Not with fury. Not with vengeance. But with finality. The Graves Foundation for Women in Transition launched on International Women's Day. Marla showed up to the opening gala. She was different now, quieter, less arrogant. She walked up to me, offered a handshake. "Thank you," she said. "For what?" "For showing me who I was, and who I wasn't ready to be. I'm in grad school now. Psychology. I smiled, not in mockery, but sincerity. Good luck, Marla. Sincerely. As the crowd applauded the keynote speaker, I stood at the back of the ballroom. My daughter, Nora, now a confident PR exec, stood beside me. You look at peace, she said. I am. What happened to Dad? Still finding himself, I replied. We both smiled. Revenge is rarely loud. It doesn't need slashed tires or public fights. Real revenge is reclaiming your power. It's building something better while they watch from the shadows. It's not that I destroyed Daniel's life. I simply removed myself and let his choices finish the job. And in that space, I built something stronger. For myself. For my daughter. For every woman told to stay quiet and endure. White heavy check mark.